It was in September of 2012, and Glen was stationed in Tripoli. This was right after Gaddafi had just been overthrown. It was the first time the U.S. was coming back into Libya. So it was a dangerous job, but I don't know if we knew how dangerous. Next day is 9/11. And so I wake up the next morning and there's a whole bunch of news on about some sort of attack in Benghazi. And I'm like, well, that's got to be hours away from where Glen is. Glen's in Tripoli. He's not in Benghazi.
Right.
So, all right, cool. So I shoot him a quick email because that's how I can communicate with him. Hey, man, be careful over there. I'll never forget sending that email. And now it's the morning of 9/12, like technically the next morning. Or I'm driving home from the gym. And I get a phone call. It's like an 858 number. And I'm like, I would never answer that. But for some reason, something told me to answer. And I answer the phone. And say, oh, is this Shaun Lake? Yes. We need you at 165 Rodney Avenue immediately. And I said, okay. And I just hung up the phone. And I knew.
Welcome back to another episode of The Impact Show. This is Todd Durkin, and I'm fired up today. Yes. Why? Because it's podcast day, and you know it. A new episode is dropping, and this one is going to bring some heat. So check this out. Shaun Lake and I meet 3 years ago, just prior to my first knee surgery. And Shaun, who is the founder of BUBS Naturals, they have collagen, protein, Mct Oil powder. He says, hey, TD, I need you to take this product throughout your healing process. Now, folks, if you've ever had surgery or going to have surgery, you will do anything when it comes to healing. And I had heard a lot about collagen, protein. You see it all over the place. I'm like, absolutely, Shaun. So I did that. And as a matter of fact, the last few years, I've been using a lot of BUBS Naturals products, and I've gotten to know Shaun really well. He's become a very good friend, and we're doing some great things together. And I asked him to come on today's show for several reasons. Number one, I want to have him share his story about how BUBS came to fruition, because check this out, folks, this is going to be an epic show. Today's guest, Shaun Lake, is a former professional snowboarder who went on to join Burton Snowboards, who worked as Shaun White's team manager. And let me tell you what, we are going to share a funny story that Shaun does not even know about yet in the episode. And then he landed a spot on as the director of sports marketing at DC Shoes. After decades in action sports marketing, Shaun co-founded BUBS Naturals, a line of collagen peptides and all other natural supplements named after Shaun's childhood best friend, Glen "Bub" Doherty, a Navy SEAL who was killed in Benghazi, Libya on 9/11 in 2012. A devoted husband, father, and fitness fanatic, Shaun is passionate about helping people feel good and do great. My friends, today we have on the show Shaun Lake, and you are going to hear straight from his mouth the story of BUB and how this all came to fruition. And I have great news for all of our listeners today. BUBS Naturals is now a part of the Todd Durkin Impact Show podcast family. Yes, they're part of the family. Why? Because today we are offering an exclusive discount for anyone who wants to get BUBS Naturals, whether it be the collagen protein, the Mct Oil powder, or the brand new apple cider vinegar gummies. That's right. You are going to get 20% off. 20% off if you use the code IMPACT when you check out. Now, my friends, check this out. Not only did I use it during my healing, but since that time, I had become an avid coffee drinker. Yes, I used to not drink coffee. And then my wife, she took me to the dark side, or should I say the bright side, and started to drink coffee, because every morning she has my Get Your Mind Right mug out, and she puts the collagen protein, 1.5 scoops, please, Melanie, and an Mct Oil powder, little scooper, 1 scoop, please. She puts that in the bottom of the Get Your Mind Right mug. Every single morning now, we're going to have a little BUBS coffee. That's what we call a BUBS coffee. And we go to town. Why? Well, because as we know, it's going to give us enhanced focus, better immune system. It's going to help the joints, and it's going to improve our overall health and wellness. That's why I use BUBS. And I'm going to encourage you to try it today. Matter of fact, you're going to hear me today talk about a 30-day challenge I'm going to issue to all of our loyal listeners today, a 30-day collagen challenge. But you got to pick it up first. My friends, go to bubsnaturals.com, bubsnaturals.com. Put in the code IMPACT. Imagine that, IMPACT. And you will receive 20% off. Yes, I said 20, not 10. Y'all know I love 10. We're doubling down the impact. 20% off when you order BUBS Naturals today. BUBSNaturals.com. Pick up your collagen protein, your MCT oil powder, or your apple cider vinegar gummies. My friends, without further ado, let's hear from the co-founder of BUBS Naturals right now, Shaun Lake and BUBS Naturals. Shaun Lake is in the house. Shaun, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Todd.
I am fired up today. Folks, you just heard his background, his bio. You heard all about BUBS Naturals. You know I'm a huge fan. I use it every day. Melanie uses it every day. I cannot wait to share the story about how the heck you got into BUBS and all of that. But first, in the bio, you talk about Shaun White. You were his team manager. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't talk a lot about my snowboarding chapter.
Yeah.
But so in the 90s, when snowboarding was on this kind of meteoric rise, was just going to the Olympics, I was a sponsored snowboarder, a professional snowboarder.
Okay.
If you ever use the bathroom in my office, you'll see my one and only signature model. I got to get my name and design aboard.
I have not used that bathroom. I guess I'm going to have to go pay a visit to the HQ again.
I'll load you up, drink a bunch of water. You'll have an excuse.
Okay.
So when I got done snowboarding, and it was great, like snowboarding paid for college, snowboarding helped set me up to be able to take that next step in life.
Okay.
And I didn't plan to work in snowboarding. It just worked out that way.
Okay.
I got recruited by Burton Snowboards, and I was waiting to join the State Department. I was going to go become, take the civil service exam and go become a State Department operative. And that was what I thought I wanted to do, to go travel the world and go to exotic places, maybe carry a firearm, I don't know. and I had this notion of that. And then, because I'd been in snowboarding for so long, I met a lot of folks and I got recruited by Burton. And the job was quite literally to move to California, move to Encinitas, California, and work with a young snowboarder named Shaun White.
Mm-hmm.
And so they hired me, and I packed up my truck and I drove to Encinitas, and I met the White family.
What year was that?
That was in 2002.
No way.
So he was a teenager. I was like making him do his homework after half pipe practice to send back to Carlsbad High School. And then, we'd go to the next practice and we'd go riding together. We would fly all over creation together as he's 16 years old.
How long were you with him for? A few years?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I ask is because something you didn't know about me, and many people don't know about me, is I trained Shaun White around that same time. Yes. Early 2000s, folks. I have not shared this story very often because it's actually a pretty funny story. Shaun had just gotten a brand new house. He was probably, 18, 19 years old, gets a new house in Rancho Santa Fe. I'm training Shaun at his house. Shaun got a beautiful new trees delivered and all that. And I still had my beat up old Ford Explorer at the time. I had just started the Fitness Quest 10. And I backed into one of the palm trees and it fell flat to the ground. The palm tree fell flat to the ground. I'm like, Shaun, it just blew over your palm tree. It's laying in the ground. Palm trees aren't cheap. Not that Shaun couldn't afford it, but you don't like to run over people's palm trees.
Not as a general rule of practice.
Correct. But when I saw that on your bio, I did not know that about you. I'm like, I got to share that on the show because most of our listeners didn't know that I trained Shaun White.
Nope. I had no idea. So Shaun, and he's a gym rat now. He knows how to train for the job. When he was 16, snowboarding was in an era where nobody trained.
That's right.
No one talked about training. It just wasn't done. What you did was you did your sport, you partied, and you would win the contest as much on, kind of bravado and just, that kind of progressive punch it forward and what am I capable of? Less so much like the physical training, the idea of what is the human body capable of. It was more like, I want to spin an extra 360 degrees. Let's go.
Right.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And Shaun was very much of that mindset, but he also he thought it through. He watched his body mechanics. And even at a young age, it was pretty neat because I was sort of watching this changing of the guard. When I was snowboarding, It was, you're standing on top of a cliff. There's a landing way down below. How fast do you have to go to get from here to there and do what you're going to do? And it was like, let's just send it. This was a combination of just send it and I got to think about this. And he was a very thoughtful rider. So it was cool working with him and seeing that rise.
Well, when I worked with him, truth be told, I had never worked with an ex-gamer or an Olympic athlete like that. So when I said, Shaun, I'll be there, and I show up and he's got his little Van shoes on, I'm like, we're doing our dynamic warm-up. And Shaun, we're out running around the neighborhood in his skater shoes. I'm like, all right, Shaun, we got to get you a pair of sneakers first off. This is like 2004. I was just training LaDainian Tomlinson. All I knew was how to train football guys. I didn't know how to train an elite skateboarder. And Shaun's a short guy. So from the running and coordination part of like lateral skipping, and he couldn't do that. But all of a sudden, I took out the Bosu and had him doing these jumps on the Bosu and landing on one foot. And I've never seen a guy with such balance in my life. Now, the first couple of times he was kind of keeled over and we couldn't keep going with the workout because we had to teach him about hydration and proper etiquette off the field and that stuff. So it was a great experience, and I loved Shaun for his open mind to training because it was all about longevity. And I remember talking to his mom, Kathy, who was very involved in that. Shaun was a young guy, as you know, and said we were trying to make this so Shaun could have a 10, 15-year career. Obviously now, 25 years later, practically, he's an icon in many industries, but obviously in X Games and skate world and ski world, all of that, snowboarding world. But when you said that, I was like, I gotta reveal the story about Shaun White and the time I knocked over his brand new palm tree, and I thought he was gonna be up there. He's like, that's okay, it's all good.
Look, you could have told me that you're the one who wrapped his Lambo around a tree, but
that was the next month. The next month he wrapped the Lambo around the tree, and I showed up, and there was anyway. Let's get. He is one special dude, exactly. And I'll tell you what. You look at you think about brands and how Shaun has actually gone from back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the skate brand. Now he's in Target, and he's got major deals, and his brand is ubiquitous with not only young ex-gamers and snowboarders, but really he's a lifestyle brand. And he's done amazing things. I want to fast forward now. So one of the things I know that you have done, Shaun, not only in BUBS, and I want to talk more about you and what you're doing physically, because when I came up to the BUBS headquarters a few weeks ago, you were telling me about your personal routine and what you do. I'm like, that's pretty darn good. Now you just turned 50 years old, look amazing, and moving well. What are some of the things that you're doing personally to make sure you're thriving in your 50s here?
So it's
or
funny,
at 50. I want to say 50s, at 50.
Well, and you know this, like I know this, right? Because you're a little bit older than I am. You're
a month.
You're about 3.5 weeks older than I am. So age ain't nothing but a thing. And I think you hear that a lot. But then when you do get a little bit older, you do feel aches and pains. You do notice recovery taking a little bit longer, and you do recognize like, well, I'm either going to stop doing things, and my mind's not wired that way. I don't want to stop doing them. I want to snowboard at 50 the exact same way I snowboarded at 20 and 25 and 30 and 35. I want to still make improvements. I still want to enjoy that fire. And it does require, some learnings along the way. I think if you make it to 50 and you haven't learned anything, you might want to rethink what your approach is.
Right.
So for me, I found that there's a couple things I can do every day. And I mean 7 days a week. And those things help kind of set me up for success.
Folks, pay attention right now, because this is high performance, what you're going to hear, because Shaun shared it with me. And when you talk about high performance and energy, Shaun is revealing and dropping some great bombs here, because I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, here's the first one. It's great. Make your bed.
Ooh.
Yeah. So make your bed. So literally, I get up in the morning, and you're looking for these little micro achievements in the day, right? Like no matter what's going to happen, if you make your bed, you've accomplished something. You put something in the bank, and it's a small little thing, right? Then I personally enjoy warm lemon water.
Did you always make your bed, by the way? Or was that the Admiral McRaven talking? Like, I got to make the bed.
And it wasn't McRaven. I learned the whole make your bed thing afterwards.
Make your bed. I like that.
That was like a couple of my SEAL buddies call it that. They're like, oh, McRaven, make your bed. I just liked the little goal. Like, I've done something to kind of clean my room.
Yep.
I've kind of level set my dojo, and then I can move on from there. So if you've made your bed, you're making a statement about being organized, or you're making a statement to yourself. And it's just, again, you're just putting a little credit in the bank.
Yep.
Now, the next minute I could get slugged in the face with some work email that's horrible, but I've done that thing. So I've got a better foundation to just go and deal with whatever negative something could happen, or I can deal with the next positive. I can deal with whatever's next.
Yep.
Then I go on and I grab a glass of warm lemon water. Now, I'm a big fan of like pH balance. I'm a big fan of eating for your blood type. And warm lemon water does a lot to kind of reset balance of what your body's going through from a recovery standpoint. And I'll let you read about it and kind of judge for yourself. For my wife and for myself, we just do it. We put a quarter to a half wedge of lemon in a warm glass of lemon water, and I slug it down. So now I've done two things, and I've set my day. Right? Now, right now, are the kids going to wake up? Are they not going to wake up?
Right.
I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. They are my X factor. And regardless of if they're awake or not awake, I hit the meditation pillow. So this is all within the first 10 minutes of being alert. Like, my eyes are awake, I'm conscious, and I'm like, okay.
Make bed, lemon water, meditate.
Make bed, lemon water, meditate.
Okay.
So meditation.
Tell me about that. Meditation.
All right, this is a woo-woo thing for some people, and it doesn't have to be.
Preach.
Meditation for me is about focus. So I practice a type of meditation called Zazen. It's an active meditation. So what I will do is I will sit. You can kneel. You can lay on your belly. You can pick whatever posture works for you. I happen to enjoy kneeling on a pillow. So like, a thick meditation pillow. And, I'm sitting down and I look directly out the window of my bedroom. I'm looking straight ahead. And there's one palm tree out there that has one little bark mark on it. And I laser focus in on that. And I breathe in and I'm looking exactly at that one point. And as I exhale, I'm kind of watching the peripheral of what's going on around it. Well, by creating that exercise with my breathing, I'm also allowing myself to eliminate all the thoughts in the day, right? I got to brush my teeth. The kid's crying in the other room. Well, I got to make breakfast. I have this meeting to go to. I have to prepare for this. And, we all know it. There's a zillion thoughts this year, last year, pandemic years, all years. There's more information pouring into our lives than ever. If you can take 2 minutes in a day, and who can't find 2 minutes, and not scroll through Instagram and not look at your Facebook and not look at whatever news cycles out there and just be with yourself.
Love it.
You have the ability to level set on top of making your bed, on top of pH water, whatever your thing is. Just spend those couple of minutes and you are so ready. Because thoughts are going to creep in. Like, I can't sit for 10 minutes and not have a thought buzz through. It's your ability to focus and just sort of push it aside and then get back to that kind of zero state, that Zen state, if you will. And what that allows me to do is when I encounter problems during the day or I encounter situations during the day, it allows me to help my ability to respond to a situation instead of react to a situation. So we all know how to react, right? Someone comes up and runs and gets in your face, you get in their face right back. That's reaction. If someone gets in your face and you take a step back and you take a moment, you can assess, why did that just happen? What does this person need? How can I help? It gives you the ability to just give anything a 360 instead of react.
Sounds like the world needs more meditation.
I'm not lying, man. This thing, I discovered this about 4 years ago, and it has been an absolute life changer. And we're not talking woo-woo stuff here. I'm not a woo-woo guy. It's a tool.
Yep.
It's a tool that helps me get level set. So
interesting. And I hadn't known that it was Zazen that you practice in that sense. 1995, Dub Lee, who became my bodywork mentor and taught me Rolfing, structural integration, and energy work. His form of meditation he taught us as students was sitting Zazen. And he has a book on it. It's called Body Therapy. And it was all about sitting in silence and quiet. And we'd have to sit there when we were doing these workshops for 60 minutes without moving. That was so hard to sit there. I couldn't sit there for 3 minutes without my back hurting at the time. And the days I even do any form of meditation these days, quiet time, prayer time, meditation, call it what you want, are the days that are the best days. The days you don't do it, man, you just are always reacting.
Yeah, like pardon, shit can get out of control.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, but like if you do those things in the morning, because like that's your best window to do it.
That's right.
You got the clearest head. You're the most prepped for it, and then
Totally.
your day can just sort of come in. Like the kids are going to come in and they're going to be crying about something, or they're going to be fighting over a toy, and you don't buy into it.
100%.
You don't get angry
100%.
and like react and lower yourself to their level. You can.
And you do that most days of the
assess
week.
it. I do it 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
So I will skip a day if there's like a weekend where we've got a ton of activities and my wife and I, we never get to sleep in together ever because she gets up at 2:30 in the morning. So
Please explain why.
my wife is a feature reporter for Fox News,
Right.
and she is on the news cycle a lot.
Yeah.
5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, I get the kids in the morning. I get to send them off on their way. And she's already left the house. She's left the house by 3 a.m. She's gone and she's clocked into work. So we have a very unique dynamic in our house.
Because when you hear she gets up at 2:30 in the morning, you're like, what the heck is she getting up at 2:30 in the morning for? That's why. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you got your meditation. And what else as far as part of Shaun's routine that allows you to perform at a high level?
Well, I mentioned eating for your blood type, right?
Yep.
I do believe in a good nutrition program. Like, we're all going to have pizza nights. We're all going to have like those great moments. But I kind of look at my day in 3 chunks when it comes to nutrition. And look at,
It's good.
people look at nutrition differently. If fitness and nutrition represent 100% of your wellness, like forget the mental side, but just like what fuel you put in and how you use that fuel, 30% of that's going to be the actual gym routine. All right, so I spend all my energy on the gym side, but if you're not paying attention to how you're fueling your body, you're missing the boat, and you're never going to achieve the potential and results that you're capable of. The old expression, abs are made in the kitchen, could not be more true. Like it's just there. So I didn't know that. I never had to worry about diet. I never had to worry about what I ate. I could just, drink a couple of beers here, eat a slice of pizza here, go do what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And it was great. But I didn't realize that I wasn't hitting the potential of where I could be if I just paid a little more attention to it. So I like math. I like metrics. I like a Whoop strap. I like an Oura ring. I like data to help kind of gauge recovery and activity. This was the nutrition side to that. So I'm like, all right, if I have a really good breakfast, right? And a good breakfast is subjective to however you want to eat. But for me, it's a big green smoothie in the morning with whole fat yogurt and, an unripe banana and, some flaxseed and a good, protein. Whey doesn't work for me. I use plant protein. Okay. Put it in a blender with some almond milk and I've got this great baseline. And I know I've got one great meal checked in the bank. I've got my leafy greens. I've got a protein source. Like I'm good. Then I go into my lunch and I'm like, okay, what's going to be for lunch? Well, I got one lunch to eat today. Some days I'm going to make it count. Some days I'm not. That's sort of a little bit of wiggle room, right? So if I go and have a grilled chicken salad for lunch, I'm satiated. I'm full. I have eaten 66% of my meals are rock solid. Guess what? It's pizza night tonight. Okay. I just had 2/3 of my day completely covered with good quality nutrition. So 1/3 won't be so hot.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing for, for every day. Every day you get 3 choices. So try and make 3 good choices. And then the one day you don't make a good choice, you've already got so much in the bank, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So,
folks, if you could see Shaun right now, if you're not watching YouTube and you're listening in right now, he is ripped. This guy, 50 years old, he obviously is taking great care of himself. You're doing your meditation. You're eating clean for the most part. And I love it when you shared about even if you change one meal a day. Right? If you're looking to make changes, what meal can you do? I was on my athletes the other day about they don't eat either breakfast. A lot of people skip breakfast. I'm speaking to you right now who you're out there working out. I see y'all. You got to get your workout in, but you got to go home and eat. too, and make sure that when you're eating, it don't have a cartoon figure on the cereal box. That's not good. What else? We're looking at like the ideal lifestyle of a fit 50-year-old.
I love it. Well, and this again, this is age ain't nothing.
It
but
doesn't
thing.
matter. You could be 25.
This is 25, but
yes.
Look, it matters more because the consequences are greater now. Like, whether you like it or not, you turn 40. Like the decisions you make with your nutrition have ripple effects.
Yep.
And when you're 20, you can eat anything. Like I'm going to eat pizza 3 meals a day, every single day. You're going to walk out and still be a ripped 6-pack.
Yeah.
Turn 40. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So again, it's like it's micro changes.
Sure.
So if you're a guy or a girl and you're in your 40s or you're in your 30s for that matter, and you're not paying attention to those meals, this just gives you a lens.
Yeah.
Change 1 meal a day.
Love it.
And you just change 1/3 of your life.
That's right.
So that's how my brain works. Like I work well with that. And then, so today's a good example. Like I had a good lunch, I had a good breakfast. I know I'm going to have a good dinner. And I'm like, great. I just
Winning
put
day.
3 great meals in the tank. I'm going to get some fitness in. And that's probably a good segue to fitness. So I'm a kind of a kitchen sink for fitness. My wife bought a Peloton during the pandemic. I was like swearing myself off the Peloton. I was like, what? You don't need a Peloton. And Glen, who we'll talk about a lot, he's kind of my fitness inspiration. He's the dude that we were knocking around when we were teenagers into our 20s. I learned a lot about fitness from my time with him. He taught me about endurance, so I always ran. Like that seemed like an easy one to just go and run.
Yep.
Got me into riding bikes, and then introduced me to CrossFit. Now, CrossFit's very polarizing. I've been in the cult of CrossFit for 13 years. I jokingly call it a cult because anyone who gets into CrossFit, they won't stop talking about it. I've graduated from the cult, but I love the programming and the community and things about it. I just take it home now, or I'll do whatever. So like I will literally kitchen sink a workout and do 20 minutes on a Peloton and then jump off and do a couple hundred reps on a kettlebell. And then I'll do different, core stomach, leg work, or you can hodgepodge it together. I'm lucky that I've got years of training under my belt where I've got a lot of different resources to pull from. I've got a great gym that I've got access to. And I'm a minimalist at home. I literally have, a set of 40-pound dumbbells, 53-pound kettlebell, and a 35-pound kettlebell. And I can make anything happen from that setup. And the deal. Like, you don't need a lot.
Right.
You need the determination to lace up your shoes. That's all you need. You don't need the equipment.
I'm curious on the movement side. When you say I like that, you like the kitchen sink mentality, but you also like numbers. Do you marry? Is that why you wear the Whoop band and the Oura ring? Do you follow numbers? Like you're after, okay, I don't care what I'm doing as long as I get 100, 500 calories in this workout, 1,000 calories in this workout. Are you measuring calories? Or are you measuring, for me, I'll look at the MyZone effort points on the MyZone belt, but there's a metric that I'm like after.
I'm chasing heart rate.
Okay.
Because if I can keep an elevated heart rate sustained over a period of time, that's usually a good indicator of the kind of performance you're putting out. Very different. If I go into a strength day, that's out the window.
Yep.
I know I'm going to have explosive movements, but they're not going to last very long. So it's all goals and objectives. So if I do, upper body chest day because I just want to look good on the beach, I'm not, I will go into that and I'm thinking about the rep scheme that I'm going through.
Love it. Yep.
Most days it'll be I have 30 minutes to do work or I have 40 minutes to do work, and my goal is an elevated heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's it going to be to achieve that?
I love it.
And so it's, it's generally whole body. I don't over focus on one area or the other. I still, fancy myself a surfer and a snowboarder. So I'm equally distributing where I'm putting the efforts in. I've always enjoyed multi-hinge movement stuff. So getting on a barbell or taking a dumbbell from ground to overhead, you have to use so much of your body to manipulate weight.
Mm-hmm.
I would say to everyone, as great as body weight is, don't shy away from weights. Don't be intimidated by them either. Yeah. They're a great tool. And again, if you want to talk about aging up, you don't need a professional training situation to tap into that. You just need some access to weights and just be smart about it. But weights are important. You need that muscle mass. You need what that can do for you conditioning wise.
And you're training how many days a week typically?
I'm about 5 days a week. I'm a big 3-on, 1-off fan. So I'll have a shoulder day where I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And I do like the Whoop because the Whoop will give me an overall activity score for the day.
Okay.
And you can rack up a pretty good day if you're just walking a lot.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I like pushing my heart rate a little bit, redlining a little bit, knowing that you're getting after. Just breaking a good sweat,
And on
man.
a good day where you got after it, and you got your kettlebell swings in, you went out and did some running. What do you typically do after your workouts? Are you a big post-workout shake guy? Do you have a meal afterwards? What typically do you use, if anything?
You know what? Nothing.
Okay.
I stretch. I'm a big fan of stretching.
Talk to me.
Apparently it's a thing. Apparently it's a thing. I never used to warm up and I never used to stretch. I would go to the gym cold. I would plate up if I'm doing a barbell workout or whatever and just rip into it. And I'd be like, I'll be warm by the 3rd round. I no longer prescribe to that.
How long do you stretch for after your workouts typically? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes?
Kind of in the 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Again, if I'm doing it at home, I am subject to 3-year-old attacks. So there's an X factor. But if I'm at the gym, I
real
can get
life talk here. Real life talk. Yep.
I can get a little more. If I do a good stretch which is part of the warm up.
Sure.
I'll sometimes kind of hack that and be like, that's kind of my post stretch recovery too. Cool.
Yeah.
But it's really about making sure you're doing the pre-maintenance, warm your body up for activity.
Love it.
Get after the activity and tune down post.
Yeah.
Because again, you're useless if you're injured.
Yeah. Guys, Shaun Lake here, the founder of BUBS Nutrition, here is talking about high performance. And when we look at that meditation and little tips that you could do first thing in the morning, fitness, nutrition, anything else when it comes to operating at your best self?
Yeah, honestly, if nothing else, everything I just said isn't going to work for everyone.
Yep.
But there's one common theme that will work for everyone, and that's routine.
Yeah.
Figure out what's going to work for you. I have a very unique home life. My wife leaves at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. She's gone. I don't know what the kids are going to do. I have an X factor, but I know that if I get that deposit of early activity, I'm still setting myself up for success during the day. So figure out what works for you. Like if you work the graveyard shift, everything I'm saying is out the window.
Yeah.
But what's the version of that? Figure out your routine and how you can incorporate in the nutrition, the diet. I will push heavy on that thoughtful mindfulness, call it meditation, just that time to be alone with your thoughts. It's some of the best time you'll get in your day. And it allows you to be your best self with everyone around you.
Yeah. Routine is huge. You think about daily, what I always say this, if you own the day, you own your life, because when you own the day and you go into your habits, when you look at your habits, if you can dial in your habits, eliminating the bad ones and doubling down on the good ones, all of a sudden you develop that routine, and day after day, week after week, you do this, you start winning the days, you win the weeks, you win the months, you win the quarters, you win the year. Even in these tough times that we're in, I think it's even more important to make sure that our habits are dialed in. So whatever that nutrition is, the movement aspect of whatever the intensity is going to be, that's a very, very important aspect when you look at your habits as well. So these are good points. Shaun, how, when you think about this, and you've done this well over the last few years, but to me, it seems like the last 5 years have been major transformative in your life. You got married, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Six
years
now.
ago. Then you start BUBS Naturals.
Yeah. Right? So I think probably the best way to talk about BUBS is actually to rewind a ways, and I'll kind of fast forward it right to where we are now. So I grew up in a little town in Massachusetts, Winchester, Massachusetts, and I grew up with a guy named Glen Doherty. So, we all have those best friends. Glen was a brother to me. Like, we were thick as thieves. Like, as soon as we connected, we were like, oh, we're going to be getting in trouble together a lot for a long time. So we both took off. We both went to college. We kind of reconnected one summer, and we're both just like, man, college isn't for us. And we both had these dreams, dreams that were not like our buddies' dreams. Like, everyone in Massachusetts goes to college, they get their degree, they get married, they get into the workforce, and they go. Like, that was the pipeline, and it's a good pipeline. Glen and I just looked at things differently, and I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to become a professional snowboarder. I had a dream, And it was not what my parents wanted to hear. Glen likewise had a dream. His dream was adventure, and he wanted to become a pro skier. He's a hell of a good skier, hell of a good athlete. And we said, well, let's drop out of college, move to the mountains of Utah, and chase our dream. Well, my mom was okay with it because she knew that she was burning money sending me to college because I wasn't applying myself. And Glen, kind of similar situation. So we did that. We moved to the mountains of Utah to chase this dream. Well, 4 years later, we're turning 25, and all of our buddies had graduated college. They were getting married. They had the jobs.
That's right.
And we were like, we're river raft guy in the summer. We're a ranch hand over here. We're painting houses. And I had gotten my dream. I got endorsed for snowboarding. I was getting a free ride. Free boxes of gear were showing up. I'd be like, look, I got extra goggles. Here's a pair. Like, it was the dream. I was loving it. I wasn't making any money. But
you were living.
But I was living it.
Right.
But I knew there was a shelf life. And Glen knew it. So we talked about that. And Glen was like, man, I don't want to go back to college. That's not where I am. I think I'm going to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. Now, this isn't like 1995. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like that Charlie Sheen movie? Like Navy SEALs? And we didn't know, he didn't know anything about it, but he'd met a couple of Navy SEALs on a summer vacation the summer before. And they really got in his head. They're like, hey man, you could do this. Because remember, like Glen was ski bumming, but he was like the fittest ski bum going because he still trained all the time and he was really dedicated to, he was just always on it.
Okay.
And these guys kind of put that seed and they said, like, you could do this, man. And, we weren't raised in a very patriotic area, like patriotic and like we all love our country, but there wasn't a lot of service in our group of friends, in our hometown. Like military service wasn't a thing. It was you go to college. So, and this was in the 90s. So it was, we'd already had the first war in Iraq that had already happened, but we were in peacetime. So it was definitely like, it was a different vibe, but Glen wanted the personal challenge. So I took off and went back to college because I wanted that. I was like, I'm going to finish my degree in snowboard. Glen took off and joined the Navy. And because Glen was Glen, this larger than life personality who just did things, he blazed through BUDS. He didn't blaze through it. I mean, he had a hard time with like everyone does.
Sure, but he made it.
He made it.
Yep.
And he graduated. Next thing you know, I'm going to his BUDS graduation. Next thing you know, Glen serves 10 years in the U.S. Navy as a SEAL. And we got together all the time and connected every holiday, every time he was home from deployment. And I finished my career snowboarding. I knocked out my degree, summer semester, fall semester. Like when it wasn't snowing, I went to school. So I was like getting ready for the afterlife of knowing that I couldn't snowboard forever. And that's when I, as we already talked about, I ended up taking a job with Burton. That launched me into a career in action sports marketing. Like I worked with ESPN and the X Games. I worked for DC Shoes, which is a part of Quicksilver. And like I spent all these years in action sports. My best buddy's in the Navy. So Glen gets out of the Navy and he starts contracting for the Central Intelligence Agency. He's doing private security work. He's a GRS agent for the CIA. So he's home for like 2 months and then he's gone for 2 months. And he'd be going to Afghanistan, he'd be going to Iraq, Beirut, like, you name it, trouble, hot area. He's going there to protect CIA operatives.
And probably wanted to go.
And he wanted to go. And that's a key thing there, right? Like, he spent 10 years in a high adrenaline, high skill set, work environment.
Right.
That transition to civilian life was something that he was struggling with. And the money is great. When you're in contracting work, you go from making 50 grand a year to 150 grand a year. It's kind of kryptonite. Like you can't get away from that lifestyle. And the money is addictive. So I'm watching my best friend go through this turmoil. And I've got my career. And we're both going through a lot of life change. Well, fast forward to 2010. Okay, this is about 5 years. Glen gets out of the Navy. He's contracting for the CIA. I'm done working in action sports. And, I've got a little marketing group. And then I'm working at DC Shoes for all these years. We reconnect in 2009. Like we always were together, but really connected. He's like, hey man, like, I got a room open in my house. I just got a divorce. You're about to get a divorce. We both moved in together. Now it's like bachelor pad at 40. All right, now it's 2010. Two single dudes living in Encinitas. We both are coaching at a gym in Encinitas owned by a former Navy SEAL, Commander Mark Devine.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Devine from SEAL Fit,
sure.
And the gym was called US Crossfit. And I was coaching there and Glen was coaching there, and it was awesome. Like I loved coaching. I loved the culture that was around Glen's friends. I mean, they'd been his Navy friends were my buddies since he joined the Navy.
Right.
And here I am, this snowboarder, action sports, riffraff guy, but my best buddies are all in the Navy. So it was a very interesting mashup of cultures.
Sure.
Glen, again, he's home for a couple of months and then he's gone. So during this time, I meet my wife, Heather Lake. So, Heather, she wasn't Heather Lake then. I should probably, she took that name later.
You met a Heather Lake and you're letting Lake.
Big impression. But so there's just a lot happening during these years and it's all great, right? So fast forward to the fall of 2012. Glen is now, he's 42, turning 43 years old. And he's like, man, I got to get out of this line of work. Like I'm getting old. It's starting to break me down. I need a transition. I think this is going to be my last job. My next deployment is going to be my last one. And it was in September of 2012. And Glen was stationed in Tripoli. So Glen flies over to Tripoli. He'd just broken up with his girlfriend. And he calls me from Tripoli on a sat phone. And he's like, hey, check in on my girl, make sure she's doing okay. Find her a new boyfriend or something, classic Glen stuff. And, I'm like, yeah, man, be careful over there, be safe. Because, this was right after Gaddafi had just been overthrown. It was the first time the U.S. was coming back into Libya. So it was a dangerous job. But, I don't know if we knew how dangerous. Next day is 9/11. And so I wake up the next morning and there's a whole bunch of news on about some sort of attack in Benghazi. And I'm like, Benghazi, Libya. And I'm like, well, that's got to be hours away from where Glen is. Glen's in Tripoli. He's not in Benghazi.
Right.
So, all right, cool. So I shoot him a quick email because that's how I can communicate with him. Hey, man, be careful over there. I'll never forget sending that email. And I go to the gym and I train that morning and I leave the gym. And now it's the morning of, it's 9/11 goes through like the whole 9/11 night into 9/12, technically the next morning. And I drive home from the gym training and I pull up to my house or I'm driving home from the gym. And I get a phone call. It's like an 858 number. And I'm like, I would never answer that. But for some reason, something told me to answer. And I answer the phone and they say, oh, is this Shaun Lake? Yes. We need you at 165 Rodney Avenue immediately. And I said, okay. And I just hung up the phone and I knew, all right, I don't like this at all. Like pit in my stomach. And I pull up to the house and just like in the movies, there's two black SUVs parked right in front of my house. And a bunch of, men and women in black suits get out of the vehicle and they walk up to me and they tell me that Glen's dead. And it still messes me up now, like 8 years later. Now I was Glen's listed first of kin. So I was his next of kin. Right. So they had to alert me. And then I was the executive of his estate. Like I was in charge of all of his stuff. And we did that on purpose. Like that's what two best friends and brothers do. And all of a sudden it happened though. Like it went from this like, hey, I'm going to leave you all my junk. You leave me all your junk. And it's a big joke to it just got real. And so the operatives, we walked into my house and they told me what happened, as much as they could. Sure. And they said, listen, this is all going to break on the news. This is going to happen really quick. And we need to tell Glen's mother, but we had to tell you first. Do we have your permission to go and tell Glen's mother? Because you're the next of kin. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Wow. Like, go tell his mom. And that just cascaded this very, very public event, the terrorist attacks on 9/11 in Benghazi, the second 9/11. And 4 Americans were killed. And 2 of them were former Navy SEALs, Tyrone Woods and Glen Doherty. And that was my roommate. And all of a sudden my roommate's all over the news. Like, you can't go through a news cycle without hearing about Benghazi. And it went on for a long time. And, like Hillary Clinton got in a whole bunch of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot going on with that. And I was in this, like, cast into the spotlight of grief and a call to duty, which was protecting Glen's legacy and, kind of managing his estate and, like, being thrust in this very heady environment. And it was life changing. I mean, it changed the trajectory of where I was going. I was going through a nice freestyle life and dancing along, and it got real serious there. But out of that sense of duty in protecting Glen's legacy was, really a chance to dig in and go, okay, well, what did Glen stand for? What were the things that were important, and how do we celebrate those? Because his family and his friends and I, when Glen died, we all rallied together and we all wanted to keep him at the table. Like what we're doing right now, Todd, we're keeping Glen at the table.
Yeah.
Like his memory is not forgotten if we talk about him.
Yep.
What he stood for, this larger than life personality, the guy had the best jokes going. He could light up a room with a story that was at least 50% lies. Because those are the best stories. And that was him. And he got you motivated to do better. Like everything I learned about fitness, I learned from him. And he was infectious with that energy. And we wanted to keep him at the table. So the first thing we did in 2012 and into 2013 was we started a foundation, the Glen Doherty Memorial Foundation. Let's help special operators not fall into the situation that Glen fell into. He got out of the Navy, got out of being a Navy SEAL. He didn't know what to do next. So let's help through scholarships. Let's help fill gaps in the GI Bill. Let's reduce the friction point to go and educate yourself, because Glen stood for self-improvement.
Love it.
And so we did that.
Gosh.
And then that was a great way to keep his name going. And like, we all started a 501c3. We started this charitable cause. It felt great. Well, fast forward a couple years. The movie 13 Hours has come out. The spotlight that was really, really bright and shiny on, the Benghazi congressional hearings and all that stuff started to fade away. Now it's early 2017. Heather and I had gotten married. The foundation is up and running. It's a small foundation. It's a mom and pop operation. Sure. And Heather and I had our first baby. So Sebastian had been born, and she bought me a jar of collagen. Now, I didn't know what collagen was, but she bought it. She said, I did a TV segment and I heard about this product, and it sounds like it would be great for you. And then she gave me this great line, which I'll never forget. She said, I got this for you because you're not getting any younger, and I need to preserve you.
And she is your age or younger?
You might have gleaned that my wife is 14 years younger than I am. So yeah, Heather, was joking. She said, "Listen, we have a young family. I can hear your knees when you walk up a flight of stairs. It sounds like crinkled newspaper. Like this is supposed to help with your joint health." And so I just grabbed the jar and I said, "Well, how do I take it?" And I just read the ingredients, and it said, I put a scoop in my coffee, warm or cold liquid. So it says it's unflavored. So I put a scoop in my coffee. And then I did the next day and I said, I will give this a test. I will take this product for 30 days. And I've tried whey protein, I've tried BCAAs, I've tried creatine, hydration formulas, you name it. I've tried everything under the sun. I've never thought that anything worked. Glucosamine, you name it. But I'll try this, dear, because you told me to. And
you got to preserve me.
So 3 weeks into it, I'm reaching for the nail clippers. And I'm like, God, my fingernails are growing like crazy. And I read the side of the jar. It says, fingernails. Okay. 2 weeks later, I need a haircut. I'd just gotten a haircut. Stronger hair. I'm like, okay, something's happening. I've never had to clip my fingernails the way I have to clip my fingernails now. And I've never had my hair grow as fast as it's growing. Like something is happening here.
Okay.
Now I'm curious, what's in this stuff? So I look up what collagen is, and it's basically ground up cowhide. It's the amino acid in cowhide is a type of protein called collagen. It's a connective tissue. It's a glue that binds you together.
Yep.
Well, about 2 weeks after that, I'm almost at the 2-month mark. I bought my second jar. Now I'm like, okay, I'm really curious. So I actually bought a jar and get out of bed one day, moving around. This is early in the routine, by the way. And my knees don't hurt. Now, my knees have hurt at this point for a decade. My knees had hurt since I was in my 30s. Aches and pains and recovery. And as I got 40 to 45, that really dialed up. And I could feel it. It didn't stop me from moving. It didn't stop me from doing the things I wanted to do, but it was just part of life. I was like, oh, I'm just going to be in pain a lot. Okay, I'll just keep going. And this took that away. Like I didn't have achy knees. I was like, what the hell is going on around here? And that was it, man. I was sold. So I was squatting again. I was getting underweight again. I was running faster. I was PRing runs. I used to be an 8-minute mile guy. I got down to like 7:15 miles again. Like I hadn't done that since I was 30 years old.
Right.
And the only thing I changed was adding collagen to my daily routine. So that's just me being a brand. Like I'm all about collagen. It's a thing to do and it works. And I will tell anyone who's listening, give it the 30-day challenge. Use it every single day. It will change your life.
That's what you did to me when we first met. Do this for 30 days and let's talk in 30 days.
Yeah. And I don't want to sell you anything. Yeah. Call me in 30 days.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do. You need to dive in and try it and trust the process. And hey, man, if it doesn't work at the end of 30 days, cool, whatever. But it will work.
So how did that turn into that story? How did that turn into BUBS Naturals?
So
and Bub being the essence of the brand.
So very interesting confluence of events here, right? Like I've got this nonprofit. I've got my fallen best friend who's always kind of still in the conversation. And my future business partner, TJ, comes over to the house and we had been pitching a work project together. And he sees the jar of collagen on the counter. He says, oh, you take that stuff? And I start raving to him, just like I just did with you. Like, my knees feel great. Like, I'm recovering better. Like, I feel so good. I'm lifting weights again. I feel awesome. And he just looks at me and he's like, oh, let's start a company. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I've got a 1-year-old in the other room and my wife's pregnant and I'm 45. Sure, let's start a company. And it started as, just like, well, you know what? We're sitting here sipping coffee. Sure. What does a company look like? And we both looked at each other and for very, very different reasons, we both said at the exact same time, well, whatever we do, we have to do something cool for charity. Opening line. And that was it. The gears started turning. I just lit up like a Christmas tree. I just had this biggest smile and I'm like, well, I know the charity. It's got to be Glen's charity. And Glen's call sign in the Navy was Bub. So we'll name the company BUBS Naturals. This is exactly the type of product that Glen would have taken because it stands for self-improvement, just like Glen does. And Glen was always helping others. So we'll donate 10% of what we do to charity. And it was a big, audacious number. We didn't know if any of it would work. And we just felt like just electrified. And so I called Glen's family. I called Glen's former teammates. And I asked everyone, so what do you think? And they all came back to me. They said, look, Glen would kick your ass if you don't do this. You have to do this.
Right.
And I asked Heather and my wife, and she was on board. And I said, well, this is a pretty crazy thing, but let's go learn about collagen. Wow. And that was the journey, man. We set it out right then and there to learn about the collagen space. We knew what was out there in the market. How do we make it better? And I'm not going to put Glen's name on the jar. I'm not going to put Glen's name on any product if we can't make it better.
Yep.
So let's go and figure this thing out. And here we are almost 4 years later.
Wow. What a story. Folks, I hope I had tears in my eyes listening to that. And I think we talk about legacy a lot. You think about impact, you think about legacy, and whether you're 25, you're 45, you're 65, is something we're always chasing, something deeper significance. And when you get behind a meaningful product or purpose that moves your soul on a regular basis, it certainly is impact. And Shaun, I thank you for sharing that story because it's amazing how BUBS legacy is living on, right? And with this product now, what you've done, it's obviously grown in 4 or 5 years since you've been 45 years old, and now you're just turned 50, so almost 5 years in the making. Tell me more about BUBS Naturals. What are your different products? You obviously have collagen.
Yeah.
What are the different ones that, like, how has it grown in 4 or 5 years?
So I guess we'll start with that foundation, right?
Yeah.
Like the company was launched with collagen, and it was started, really with that passion play. Like I knew it worked. I knew it worked well for me. So how do you make it better? So we looked at better as being a combination of flavor, solubility, and that amino acid profile, the very thing that is delivering those results to you. And we set out with all the different manufacturers to challenge ourselves to have the best flavored product, meaning unflavored, and the best solubility. And then how do we put the right accreditation on that so that what I'm saying is true. So
Right.
we set out to be NSF certified for sport. That was number one.
Love it.
We're the only brand that I know of that is 100% NSF certified for sport. We run our entire product line of collagen through the NSF process. That is for cleanliness of ingredients and label claims. So when you read our labels, you're getting what we promise you. You're getting delivered what is being promised to you. And that is rare in the supplement industry. And I've learned that too, because I've never worked in the supplement space.
Right.
It's a very uncharitable industry that is driven largely by vanity metrics.
Yeah.
We're building a product that's really from the inside out. So the benefits of collagen, again, hair, skin, and nails, great cosmetically, but joint health, muscle recovery, and gut health, intestinal health, how you process food. So there's so much internal going on with collagen. It's the most abundant protein in your body.
Yep.
So you need to supplement with it or you're going to lose it, especially as you age up. So collagen was like this no-brainer foundation.
I think we need a 30-day challenge. I think we need a 30-day collagen challenge. The Impact Collagen Challenge. 30 days. I'm assuming you would say for anyone, try it for 30 days.
Try it for 30 days. Literally buy a tub or buy one 30-day supply and take it every single day. And there's no way you're going to come back to me at the end of that 30 days and not say, my fingernails are growing longer, something's happening with my hair. You're going to notice it.
But if you go to any store, you see collagen protein all over the place. What makes BUBS Naturals different than those other brands that are all over the place?
So kind of like what we're talking about with the NSF certification.
Yeah.
They're not going to carry that mark. We independently test every single jar for quality. Second to that, there's only 2 brands on the planet that bear the Whole 30 approved mark, and we're one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can separate that because you're not going to see the Whole 30 approved mark on their products. And that means they also test your product for cleanliness, whole food approved products. So you're eating clean. So quality is king.
Okay.
And that's where we separate. We will beat anyone on flavor and solubility on top of that.
Shaun and I did not talk about this prior to the show, but I am launching the 30-day collagen challenge.
There we go.
There we go. But try it, because I've been using BUBS for several years now, since Shaun and I first met, and collagen is a huge part of my repertoire. It's not the only product in your company. Talk about what else you have.
No, well, probably the one that drives your staff the craziest is our Mct oil powder. So it's kind of like if you've heard of a bulletproof coffee. It's the idea of eliminating sugar and replacing sugar with a high fat coffee. So MCT is a medium chain triglyceride. That is essentially coconut oil that is refracted down into a medium chain triglyceride. So it's a little bit easier to digest into your body, and your brain uses those medium chain triglycerides for fuel. So think mental focus. Then think energy, fat burning energy. So your body wants to burn fat for energy, and it's going to give you energy stores for hours. So that's why you're on fire all the time, Todd. That's why. So that's our second product. So we did that, but we didn't want oil. Oil is messy. Oil is not tasty. So we found a way to combine it with tapioca. So tapioca starch is a cassava root. It's a benign little root vegetable, very little nutritional value, but it's a great sponge. And it's very creamy. So we developed that to be a non-dairy creamer. So I kind of joke, we got the best collagen on the planet, and we have your new favorite non-dairy creamer. So those 2 products together, energy, recovery. Then we have a whole plan for some gummy products, vegan gummies. So we have an apple cider vinegar gummy. That is, I can see it over
They
there.
are awesome, by the way. I've been fortunate enough to take these for the last month, and I have to hide them from my family now because my kids are eating these. It says to have 2 per day.
Yep.
And some of us in the Durkin family have been known to take 4 to 6 a day.
You're not going to go overboard. So we put the 2 a day extra bold for you. But again, metabolism, digestion, there's great immune health benefits in vinegar, and it's simple.
Yeah,
Like,
it is simple. And y'all who've been following me for a while know that I have always been an apple cider vinegar fan, but no one likes the taste of it because I'm like, just swig it down and suck it up and get your 2 tablespoons. And you all would be DMing me like, that's horrible. I can't do it. I'm like, it's healthy. Doesn't matter. Then when I saw this the other day and you gave it to me, oh my goodness, it is so good. I love it. I love it.
You're cheating the system. I was doing the whole Bragg's challenge where I'd be like, just taking a slug of it. I'm like, this is worse than drinking warm whiskey in the back of a pickup truck when I was snowboarding. This is horrible. But anyways, the health benefits like self-improvement. That's the litmus test for everything we make. And we're working on something very special next. We're sort of in the final stages of rolling into functional hydration. That's probably the most exciting one we have coming up. We talk a lot about our company.
When will that come out?
So we're going to do a soft launch in October.
Okay.
And then towards the end of Q1 in 2022, so kind of like around end of Feb, March, will be the official rollout where we're going to hit it gangbusters. And we're doing that with hydration. We wanted to look at hydration a little bit differently. There's a lot of hydration on the planet that you can buy that have a ton of sugars in it or a lot of stevia and a lot of sweetness to them. Well, the real magic in a hydration product is the electrolyte content. That's why you take a hydration product. You take it because those electrolytes fuel your activity, they fuel your recovery. You actually hydrate before. If you use a good electrolyte mix prior to exercise, your endurance during activity is going to be, heck, ask any marathoner or any cyclist or anyone doing any activity for an hour plus.
Sure.
Preload your electrolytes. So we looked at the landscape and we said, well, what does everyone have out there? And I can name names, but every brand that's out there has this sort of blend of electrolytes, and it's usually less than 1,000 milligrams of electrolytes. I said, okay, well, what's the top player there? Like, who's doing the most? And there was one brand that had like 1,260 milligrams of electrolytes. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. But they do it all with sodium. Sodium's, that's a polarizing topic. And I said, well, wouldn't you prefer a blend of electrolytes? Like, we're talking potassium, magnesium, chloride, sodium, like get them all in the mix.
Yep.
And we looked at that and said, well, what if you could do that, have the highest electrolyte content on the planet, and be USDA certified organic? And that was the goal. How do you differentiate yourself from a landscape? There's plenty of hydration out there.
Yep.
I want the most functional hydration product. I want the highest combined electrolyte content, and I want it the cleanest source possible. I want you to know where it's coming from, and I want you to know what it's going to do for you. And I don't want you to not be able to pronounce anything on the label. So when you read our label, it is going to say organic coconut water powder, organic natural flavor, sea salt. That's it. And the sea salt source that we have is especially rich in both sodium and chloride and a little magnesium. Like, it's got a lot of jazz to it because it's a very special sourcing of mineral content. And organic coconut water powder, there's a great blend of how you go out to enrich like that mineral content. The age of the coconut itself is actually very important. The younger the coconut, the higher the potassium. Older the coconut, the sweeter it is, but lower potassium. Find that right blend, and then you've got the most functional hydration beverage that you can get your hands on, and you know exactly the traceability and USDA organic.
How much of your creation of these products is Glen part of BUB, in the sense of would he, is this BUBS approved? And I mean that like from a soulful level. There's business, and we got P&L statements and everything else, versus, you know what, this has got to be BUBS approved. BUB would have to say this is the best drink I've ever had, or the best MCT oil powder, or the best collagen. How much of that is in the discussion?
So there's a little bit of a legacy play, right? Like Glen, when Glen was alive, he was the cheapest guy going. He would buy whey protein in the giant jugs from some off-brand just because he just wanted the protein. And so he was the deal. He would clip coupons and find the best deal. That was who Glen was. And what we're doing is definitely not that. And I would joke about that. I'm like, the only thing we're doing that Glen wouldn't be doing is like, we're going full premium on everything. Now he loved premium, but only if you got a discount on it. So, he's all like, well, if I get it for half off, I could buy the good stuff. So the functionality is all Glen. The idea of hydration. I learned about hydration from Glen. He bought the cheapest hydration stuff or whatever he could get his hands on. But he knew the functionality of it. He knew the science behind it. He knew how important electrolytes were for endurance. Like we would go on these 3+ hour bike rides or go on these giant, big runs or rucking or like whatever the activity was. He knew how to fuel your body for success. So in a way, he kind of roadmapped the pipeline of products that we're developing. We didn't have access to a lot of natural products back then, like clean, organic, in 2010, 2011. Like that's a newer component of the supplement space. So we've embraced that because the ethos at Glen stood by the self-improvement can be delivered with natural ingredients. Yeah. And so that's sort of my take on it. But hydration was him. Now, funny enough, hydration is him because that's where I was introduced to hydration. But when it came to flavoring, it was also from him. So Glen loved Crystal Light.
Crystal
Light lemonade.
Gosh, I remember that.
Now, man, it's like I'm going back in time. I'm going to like mid 2000s and stuff. And he'd be like, "Oh, I gotta have my Crystal Light."
Right.
But that's what we knew. We didn't know that Crystal Light maybe wasn't the best for you. So when we're doing the organic flavoring house, I'm sitting down with the organic flavoring people, like that are just going to use like organic lemon rind, and I'm like, "Can you make it taste like Crystal Light?" So we always weave him into everything that we're doing. And mostly, it's the integrity of the products because he operated with such high integrity. It's also humor. Yeah. We named the hydration product Hydrate or Die.
Hydrate or Die.
Yeah.
I like that.
My wife hates it.
I like that.
But
Hydrate or Die.
Hydrate or Die.
Train or die. I like it.
And that's very literal, but it's also like, yeah, man, you got to hydrate or you're not going to make it. So we were very literal with it, but we always try and have some fun with the things that we do too. And that was Glen. He brought the humor to it. So in a way, we've kept him at the table. His memory and what he stood for. And he can't be with us here today, but he's here with all of us today. And that's what I've learned on this journey. Is that legacy is important. I think we spend our 20s and our 30s sort of slaying dragons. And then there's some magical shift when you start thinking about not what's in front of you as much as what are you going to leave behind? Like what are you going to leave for who's next? Right. And if we can change lives for the positive, whether that's being inspired by who Glen was and the things that he stood for, or we can introduce a healthy habit to someone, it's worth it, man. Like it's worth it right there. And that changing lives is a magical, magical experience. And to play a part in that, I feel lucky to be able to do that.
Could you have envisioned this 4 years ago?
No.
And 4 years ago when you were around that table and had an idea about this company, now where you're at today with BUBS Naturals, what do you love the best about what you do? And what's the hardest thing you do?
Well, the thing I love the best is the random anonymous emails or comments that I will get or that will kind of trickle into the company from someone that says, "Hey man, like this has made a positive change in my life." That's unsolicited, and it comes in because someone made something good happen for themselves, and that is powerful stuff. I didn't see that coming, but I know how good it felt training someone. Like, when you teach someone their first pull-up, and you see like that emboldened spirit that they have from that I can do anything moment. It's kind of like that. It just charges you up a little bit. That has been one of the biggest things.
Hardest?
The hardest is probably it's making it all work. It's figuring out all the pieces to do it better, and to, like, I'm responsible now for a lot of people's and their salaries and their careers, or their, not just their liveliness, but like, I feel a responsibility to that same community. So the ones that are coming to me,
you've grown up. You're no longer a ski instructor over there. Yeah.
Damn it. Right? Damn it. It's all changed. But it's like, it's that same responsibility, that same audience that's coming to me saying, this has changed my life. The idea of delivering on that promise every single day. And that's hard. It's not easy. Like, we get challenges every day. Anyone who's been around any startup business, you're lying if you think it's going to be a walk in the park. You're kidding yourself.
Well, for you, I would think, from what I see and knowing you, scaling growth. I mean, this company has grown so rapidly in the last couple years, and scaling growth, regardless of the industry, is challenging. And in the food industry and supplement industry, y'all have done an amazing job with growing the company, yet keeping to your core values in how you're getting it out there, who you're working with, and ultimately not sacrificing the quality of what you stand for. And I value and appreciate that, Shaun, because I know how hard it is when you're growing something. You have this massive dream, and sometimes it's easier to sell out, or to skimp on product, or to have shortcuts. And I know that's not what you're about. I know that's not what Bub was about, your team is about. And sometimes those are the hardest things, but we never really recognize it because it's just part of your DNA. So I say thank you for that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what we're here to do. Again, we're here to level up, and every day we dig into it, and we try and move that ball forward. So just like you do, in everything we're doing, like that's what we're here for.
Yeah. So. If someone wants to follow your journey and BUBS, the company BUBS, where can they do that? Social media, website, where can they do it?
So the website's always a baseline, bubsnaturals.com. So BUBSNaturals.com. Mm-hmm. All of our social handles are the same, at BUBS Naturals. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're the most active on Instagram and Facebook. Not doing a lot of TikTok videos yet. Haven't learned that platform. Give me some time, though. I don't have my good dance moves yet, so I got to work on that.
Yep. Well, make sure you follow Shaun and BUBS Naturals and everything that they are doing, because truly, when it comes to not only nutrition and supplementation, but even mindset, because I think it all comes into your background and who BUBS was. It comes out in everything you do. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being who you are. And our journey together, man, is awesome.
Oh, yeah. We're just getting started, man. This is great stuff. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Cheers.
Wow. Oh, wow. Shaun Lake, thank you so much for being here on the show today. Folks, when you heard the story of Glen, Doherty, nickname Bub, I had tears in my eyes. I'm not sure about you as you're out there moving, you're exercising, you're driving, but to hear Shaun and hear the compassion and the love from this brother, this comrade, this colleague of his, who he spent many, many years growing up with, all the way to the point where Bub, who was a SEAL and then lost his life while over in Libya on September 11, 2012. I think about this legacy. I think about legacy. I think about your legacy right now as you're out moving. It's like, what are you doing today to live a life of legacy? You always talk about, live a life worth telling a story about. What's your story? You live a life worth telling a story about. What's your story? Hopefully we all have many more days on this planet, and hopefully we maximize those days, and we maximize our time and our energy and who we're spending our time with. But I want you to reflect today, as Shaun was talking about, you could hear the passion in his voice about the company that he created, BUBS Naturals. He talked about collagen. He talked about his Mct Oil powder and his apple cider vinegar and this new hydrate or die. What I loved hearing about was the passion in his voice of how much he's convinced that will change your life. That when you take, my product, it'll change your life. And I think there's nothing to hide behind when you love something and you believe in something so much that physically, mentally, emotionally, nutritionally, spiritually, energetically, whatever it is, when you do these things, your life will change. That's what I love about working with BUBS. That's what I love about consuming BUBS. And I would never work with a company that I don't use and I don't stand behind. I wouldn't fight for or die for. And let me tell you what, Shaun Lake is one special man, and BUBS Naturals is a company that I love working with. And again, I welcome to the family. If you are ready to step up to that 30-day challenge I talked about, pick up your collagen protein today. Don't forget, we have an exclusive offer if you use the code IMPACT. Impact, IMPACT, Impact. When you check out at bubsnaturals.com, you're going to get 20% off. And I want to hear about when you take it for 30 days, what's your experience on that? And did you experience what I experienced before my knee surgery and in my healing process after my surgery? You do not need to have surgery to be taking the 30-day challenge, but step up to the challenge. And if you enjoyed today's episode and you think someone else can also benefit from the story of Glen Doherty or the story of an entrepreneur who just started 4 years ago and is now creating a business based on legacy, can you please share that? Please share it in your newsletters, your email, on a DM or text, or even on your social media. Share that because it helps us get the story out there of all that we do. Until next time, my friend, remember, continue to train hard, eat right, live inspired, and today, go create impact.